Any sane person, any rational person who read Osama bin Laden's letter to America would know that it's mostly an incoherent, rambling screed where it's laughably bad. The Guardian had Osama bin Laden's letter up for some time, but recently took it down after the letter went viral on TikTok. And a whole bunch of people who are not quite bright and don't understand geopolitics are now going like, whoa, we've been lied to. Well, to be fair, you have been lied to. They did not attack us for our freedoms. And the perspective held by Osama bin Laden is interesting to understand. You can also read Mein Kampf if you want to understand Hitler's perspective. These are bad people. But there are a lot of people who are acting like Osama bin Laden had a point. No. Okay, let me just say it this way. If you read the letter, which the Guardian deleted, he's basically like, there are two main reasons or two questions that need to be answered. And then it's an incoherent and dejected screed that bounces back and forth on subjects. And you're like, we get it. Israel, Palestine, and American military bases. Among other things, the dude clearly hates Jews. But there are a lot of people now who have a basic, very, very limited understanding of Middle Eastern conflict, who are producing TikToks like, I heard free Palestine and then read Osama bin Laden's letter and now I get it. And it's like, no, no, you don't. And as much as I know a little bit about some of these conflicts and have even been literally in some of this conflict, reporting for various news agencies, I would not even begin to claim I know enough about it at all, which is why I'm basically like, hey, the U.S. should not be involved in this for the most part. But take a look at this tweet from Yashir Ali. He says, over the past 24 hours, thousands of TikToks at least have been posted where people share how they just read bin Laden's infamous letter to America. Dude, the letter is really stupid. I'm sorry, man. I know there's going to be some leftists like, well, he makes a good point. And there's going to be a bunch of anti-Israel people. Oh, you know what I hate more than anything? I hate these right-wing anti-Israel groups. Sorry, I just really do. Look, I'm a rational guy. Okay. You come to me and say, here's a video. Right now, there's like this video of this teen who died. Everyone's talking about it. And it's frustrating because I'm like, dude, let me just say this just to piss you all off. Because I'm sure 15% or so of you want a narrative to be true. This kid in Las Vegas who gets beaten to death. It shouldn't have happened. A mob beat him to death. It's bad. But the story is not that a white kid was beat up by 15 black guys. It's like nobody read the story. Nobody cares. I just can't stand that. The story there is that a kid was defending his friend who had his headphones stolen, arranged with this other group to have a fight behind the school in an alley. The kid who got beaten to death took a swing first at one of the other kids, and then the mob rushed and beat him. It was about 5 or 6 people. I think 3 or 4 may have been black, and 2 of them are not black. And now there's this narrative that 15 guys beat, and the number keeps going down every time the police issue more information. I'm not saying it's a good story. I'm not saying there should not be justice. I'm just saying, dude, get your facts straight. Okay, I'm sick of the there must be a narrative thing. This is what the left does, and that's the main thing that I care about. Okay, I don't want to hash that story. We're talking about Osama bin Laden here, but the issue here is these people who are not smart are being, it's tough. They're allowed to read it, but Osama bin Laden's understanding of worldly affairs, I would put it this way. I'm not going to comment on what I know about what he might have known. I don't know. I read the letter. I read it a long time ago and read it again recently. And it bounces back and forth. It's like it says the same thing several times. We get it. It sounds like he's reading some like rudimentary anti-Israel leftist screed. But don't get me wrong. There are a bunch of people who are more right-leaning, ethno-nationalist types or not, who hate Israel. And it's just like they're standing there having a calm discussion about sports, and they're like, I think it's really interesting. If you actually look at the curve on that drive, it's very fascinating. And then you go Israel, and they go, wah! And they just start screaming, and their eyes turn blood red. And I'm like, I don't get what's wrong with these people. The one thing I can say that unites the pro-Palestine and pro-Israel people is their absolute obsession with the region. I am not saying one side is better than the other or anything like that. I'm just saying that the absolute obsession from the anti-Israel and the pro-Israel sides. I'm on the I don't care. I'm on the I don't care about Israel. Okay, let me play this video for you, just some of it. This is fascinating to see nonetheless. And I think the bigger story here is not so much about Osama bin Laden's hatred of the Jews. It's more to do with how algorithms are influencing a younger generation and making them psychotic and stupid.
America, which is Osama Bin Laden's letter to America explaining why he attacked Americans. And I am ashamed to say that I not only have never read this letter, but I didn't even know this letter existed. It's wild, and everyone should read it. If you haven't read it yet, read it. However, be forewarned that this has left me very disillusioned, and I feel the same exact way I felt when I was deconstructing Christianity. I feel a little bit just confused, like I have entered into another timeline. What is this? And yeah, so go read it.
So I just read A Letter to America, and I will never look at life the same. I will never look at this country the same. I will never.
They're lying. All these people are lying. They're like, wow, I'm so surprised. Oh, heavens, you should read this letter. I'm going to be honest with you. You should read the letter. And again, I think it's important to read books like Mein Kampf, if not just like read Mein Kampf. Hitler wrote a book. You want to understand why deranged, psychopathic, monstrous people do these things? It's important to understand them. Why? Because we don't want it to happen again. But a lot of these people in these videos, they're like, I just read it. Wow, you should read it. Ooh, here we go. Oh, man, this one's going to be good. Oh, come on. You know, Twitter video has always been trash. Okay, I just got to say, always been trash.
Now and go read. It's literally 2 pages. Go read A Letter to America. And please come back here and just let me know what you think, because I feel like I'm going through like an existential crisis right now, and a lot of people are. So I just need someone else to be feeling this too.
I need you to stop what you're doing and go read A Letter to America. It is literally the craziest thing I've read in a while. And while I can't say that I'm that surprised, I am pretty shocked. So go read it and tell me what you think, because I really also need to talk to other people about this. And actually, before you even read the letter, I did want to mention, in reading the letter, I could only think of this tweet that I saw the other day.
So this tweet says, under settler colonialism, any kind of resistance is branded as terrorist because the only acceptable violence is violence by the occupier.
Under settler colonialism, any kind of resistance is branded as terrorist because the only acceptable violence is violence by the occupier.
Why is TikTok promoting this to young people? Why did the TikTok algorithm start promoting people saying these things? Hamas stormed into Israel, into villages, started killing civilians. They admit they did this. They kidnapped civilians. This is quite literally terrorism. When you are targeting civilian populations explicitly as targets of opportunity, this is what we describe as terrorism, trying to accomplish your political goals by terrorizing people. I know it's a really simple and kind of vague understanding. The U.S. does similar things. I love this. I said, Hamas is terrorists because they did this. And then these leftists are like, yeah, then so is the U.S. And I'm like, yes, wonderful. Let's lock up each and every one of these warmongering psychopaths who sent our good men and women to die for their imperialistic endeavors. You ain't going to get a complaint from me. Barack Obama killed American citizens. Lock him up while we're at it. Okay. That being said, this is the lie. Why? They only want to tear down the United States. TikTok, in my opinion, is promoting this because they want young people to hate this country and hate the West. Hey, there are some successes the U.S. has. You know, if you look at South and North Korea, I was watching a show that's based in South Korea, and I was learning that they actually have something comparable to the Bill of Rights, and I'm like, wow, I actually really like that. North Korea sucks. South Korea is kind of awesome. And it is because of the U.S. intervention. There are certain things that I say, look, man, I'm mostly anti-intervention because they've not properly justified to the American people who are supposed to be the government why they're doing a lot of these things. But Afghanistan was abject failure. And I think Biden did it on purpose. I think the exit from Afghanistan was done poorly on purpose to destroy what was there, to empower the Taliban and create new boogeymen the U.S. can claim to fight. But the U.S. is doing a whole bunch of stupid backwards things. And I think it's fair to criticize U.S. foreign policy. But I also think it's important to talk about how Western values are amazing and good. And Hamas, they're terrorists and bad people too. These messages, what they're trying to say in this, with this clip right here, TikTok is promoting, Bin Laden is revealing secret truths, they claim. And that when they call Hamas terrorists, it's because they're occupiers and settler colonialists. Spare me your lies. Evil people exist everywhere, and war is about winning. People are going to do whatever they have to do to win wars, and the idea of a war crime to me is laughable. But to argue that Hamas are freedom fighters or resistance, you said any kind of resistance. Dude, Hamas did not need to kill civilians. Hassan Piker did not need to say, well, babies are settlers too. That is evil. I think so. In war, evil deeds are done. And war can be waged by good people who do things that are not evil. It's true. Yeah. Humanitarian corridors. You can have collateral damage and you can have abject evil. And collateral damage falls into the horrifying elements of war. And this is what they're getting mad about. They're like, don't call this collateral damage or collateral murder. Dude, it is. Sorry, have a nice day. By all means, you can claim that Israel intentionally kills civilians. Okay. I think it's important to back that up. And there are instances that I question. I think Israel goes heavy, but I don't know enough about the region. And I will tell you outright, it's war. I don't know if I have a moral leg to stand on in making a debate about this. But I agree with Ben Shapiro on this point. Israel targeting Hamas after what Hamas did is infinitely different from Hamas going after civilians intentionally to terrorize. Hamas did not need to send troops into the kibbutzim and kill civilians and burn buildings down. They did not need to capture and shoot civilians. There's a video of Hamas fighters shooting at porta potties at the music festival. They don't know who's in them. They don't care. They will kill anyone randomly. Why? That does nothing for you. In fact, hurts your cause. They wanted to disrupt the Abraham Accords. They wanted to terrorize, and they forced Joe Biden to give them money.
So this is fucking insane. I just read Osama Bin Laden's letter to America, which I will be going through right here, but it's actually so mind-fucking to me that terrorism has been sold as this idea to the American people and honestly just so many Western inhabitants within certain nations that this group of people, this random group of people just suddenly wakes up one day and just fucking hates you, just wants you dead, wants you gone. And this is all because they believe that they're better than us. Like, that is the root of terrorism. It doesn't make sense. It
quite literally does make sense, because this is what the left does. Communists think they're better than you. They think your views are broken backwards and only they can run the system right. They don't one day wake up and believe it. That's not really the narrative. If you read Osama bin Laden's letter to America, by all means, if you try to understand what I view as a mostly incoherent screed, the guy clearly hates the Jews and he hates the West, fine. It's funny because his views probably align with a lot of universities. If you read it, you'll understand this guy does think he's better than you. Lady, did you actually read it? The dude says in there that Islam is the unification of all religion and you must come to Islam. He does think he's better than you. He's ideologically driven. One of the arguments bin Laden makes is that Christianity and Judaism unites to form Islam, essentially, because Islam recognizes all the prophets. Spare me, dude. The guy was an ideological psychopath who hated the United States. And I think there's a lot of reasons people hate the United States. CIA calls it blowback. We've known this forever. When the U.S. engages in these operations overseas, you generate enemies. But yeah, they hate you and they do think they're better than you. That's what these leftists do.
just hate your fucking nation. But reading this letter, it becomes apparent to me that the actions of 9/11 and those acts committed against the USA and its people were all just the buildup of our government failing other nations.
When I got the news in 2011 that we got him, what is it? Okay, and he's not really saying anything. 2023, reading his letter to America knowing he was right. Yo, are you serious with this? I don't think these people ever actually read the letter. Bin Laden says that he wants everyone to come to Islam, to unify under Islam, the true religion and unity of all prophets. You think that's right? Man, you know, I post about black paraplegic Santa Claus and these leftists call me a Christian and I'm not a Christian. I'm going to say this for all of you. It may be shockingly offensive to some. I I do not believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. I don't believe in the biblical stories of Christianity. I grew up Catholic. I learned many of these things. I do not hold those views. I think the story of Jesus is wonderful. I think the messages are fantastic. I think the Bible holds a lot of important truths for humanity. I do not believe that it is the Word of God. I know. I do believe in God. I do not believe that man has access to the Word of God in this way. But I'm agnostic on all religion, though I am not agnostic on God. God exists. I believe that there are logical patterns and pathways that make it fairly obvious to discern that God exists. And and personal experiences, but it is what it is. You don't have to agree with me, and I don't expect everyone to believe this stuff, but I don't follow organized religion. They attack me and call me Christian because I'm critical of Target. Actually, I'm laughing about what Target did. But now they're claiming Bin Laden's letter to America was right? Well, okay, dude. I'm sure your local mosque would love to accept you. I mean that sincerely. I mean, I have no beef with Muslims. Believe what you want to believe. So, okay, so this guy comes around. What else have we here?
Of these situations, and this letter was insanely eye-opening. I really urge everybody to Google and read it, because I thought that I had quite a lot of media literacy, but this takes it to a whole nother fucking level where
this lady really just likes saying the F word. It's pretty crude, and I'm not surprised she doesn't have other words to use.
Just like, holy shit, like propaganda is genuinely so deeply embedded into our fucking DNA.
Read a letter to America. You're probably waking up. You probably have a lot of questions. Welcome to the club. But we don't have a lot of time to sit and talk about everything because there's still so many puzzle pieces that we just do not know about.
Go read a letter to America. Like, seriously, go read it. Type a letter to America in Google or whatever you use.
Okay, so basically this is what happens. Universities start indoctrinating young, stupid people about the problems of settler colonialism. They don't actually want them to deeply understand war, conflict, crisis, etc. They want them to be anti-West. They want them to be anti-United States. Then, when these people grow up reading a whole bunch of psychobabble garbage and join a cult, they end up agreeing with Osama Bin Laden. I'd like to give a shout out to Hassan Piker here, who tweeted critical of these people, being like, dude, Bin Laden was not a good guy. Like, people really, what did he say? It was something funny. He said people really just like tall men or something like that. Yes, right. This is nuts. These people didn't actually read his letter. But what's happening now is, because of the Israel-Hamas escalation, these people who are tribalist cult members who want to side with Palestine no matter what, read a letter from Bin Laden, which says a couple times you allowed Jews to take the land in a Zionist settler occupation or whatever. And then they seem to ignore the other part where he says you are infidels who must come to Islam or else. Dude, the guy didn't just attack us because of Israel. Okay, I'm sure he was pissed about it. A lot of places are pissed about the Balfour Declaration, mandatory Palestine, European colonization, all that stuff. But the dude doesn't like us because we're not living under Islam. That was a major component. Did you read that part? Apparently they did not.
Back. Because this makes a lot more sense. It explains so much. And I guarantee you it's going to blow your mind. And let's talk about it. So go read it, come back.
Good luck, America. But more so, good luck, Democrats. You're not getting a vote from these people.
It's a lot.
Oh. Seeing his letter to America, knowing he was right. Let me tell you what's going on. TikTok promotes this. So people decide to make videos just agreeing with what will get them clicks. This is why I've said we should ban TikTok. It's a foreign corporation seeking to subvert our laws, our norms, and our culture. It is an act of war against us. Now, there's First Amendment challenges. So be it. So be it. Let's answer those. But this young woman right here, she's not a Muslim. Yo, that's crazy. And then she's crying like, oh, okay, come to Islam, lady. Unify under all the prophets.
Life does not.
Here's one. It's playing music and it says, Letter to America is something everyone needs to read. It all makes sense now, especially if you were alive during 9/11. I don't care for these TikToks where they just play music and then mouth things. Mood since reading Osama's letter to America, rethinking things I learned when I grew things I grew up learning.
Right now? I read Osama Bin Laden's letter to America.
The way this letter is going viral right now is giving me the greatest sense of relief. If you're Muslim and you've lived in the US since 9/11, you know more truth than the typical citizen.
If you're Muslim, you see?
Now it's all coming.
I look, man, look, I got no beef with Muslims, all right? I'm sure various religions might, but I would love to see everybody just being like, look, we're not going to fight. We're going to believe what we believe. But I don't think that's going to happen because you got holy conquest and stuff. But sure. One thing that I said and several others said is that the future of this planet will be Muslim. And the reason for it is in many parts of so Christians are less inclined to use violence to impose their way of life than Islam is. And that's around the world. There are very few overt theocratic Christian nations, if any at all. There are nations that are majority Christian. There are numerous, I think dozens of theocratic Muslim nations. Many of these nations are willing, they use this as, they have morality police. So when I say violence, I'm not talking about indiscriminate. I'm saying like Iran has morality police to enforce, Sharia law and things like this. Christians, we don't have Mosaic law in the United States. We're a majority Christian nation, but we don't have Mosaic morality police. So, or Levitican law or anything like that. But Islamic countries do. For this reason, nations that are having more kids and are willing to enforce their morality are more likely to expand and push this morality. As Max Blumenthal mentioned, the Jews of the Palestinian region, the Levant, were conquered by Muslims and forced to convert. That says enough. Okay. I'll leave it at this. TikTok is subverting the future generations of this country. It's all laid out right in front of you. And it's shocking to a lot of people. Good luck, Democrats. You signed on to this. I'll see you all at 6 p.m. the next segment. Thanks for hanging out.